everybody, I'm Corinne Blackstone and welcome to my craft room. I'm so happy to have you here today. Before we get started, be sure that you're subscribed here on YouTube. That way you don't miss out on any of the fun, crafty content we have coming. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can use files that are made for lasers, just like this one, which was made to be cut on a laser and give you like a cool 3D effect. But you can use this with vinyl as well, and I'm going to show you how to do that, how to set it up, how to change the colors, because usually an SVG that's made for lasers doesn't have separate like file colors, but it's really easy to manipulate and change. Now you'll need a few supplies if you're going to make a wood round like I do. You're going to want wood round, which I got from Hobby Lobby. I'll link it below. If you want to stain your wood, you absolutely can. I really like Minwax stain. I used the color classic gray, but you do what you want. You don't have to stain it, but I do always recommend prepping your wood. For this one, I used Maker's Magic, but you can use things like a Krylon triple thick spray, Mod Podge, not my favorite, but it will work. And then you can also use things like polyacrylic, which is a great option. And then you'll want a sponge brush to put your sealant on. And then I just use like an old t-shirt as a rag for my stain. I also added a little piece of ribbon to this to hang it, and like I've said before, I can't make a bow to save my life, so I just kind of make a little ribbon loop. But if you are a bow master, please tell me your secrets, because I would love to know how to make bows. So without further ado, let's get started. I can't wait to show you how you can use these laser cut files to create something with your Cricut. So first, let me tell you what the file looks like. This here is the design that we're going to do, and you can see that it looks very 3D. It's made to be really cut, more so with a laser and pieced together. But just because it's made to do that doesn't mean that we can't use it to create something with our Cricut. So we're going to make this strawberry sign, and I'm going to show you how to do that. The first thing we'll need to do is to upload our image. So I'm going to click upload, and then I'm going to choose upload image and browse for that. Mine is under the Summer Wood Round Sign SVG, and we're going to use the one that is Strawberry Summer Sign. And I'm going to use my SVG, which might show for you as an HTML document, but that is your SVG. I'm going to go ahead and open that. Now, one thing I want to point out while we're on this screen is, do you see how everything is just like an outline? It just looks like the same color. That's something we'll address in Design Space, and it's really easy to do. I also want you to note how fuzzy everything looks. The design is fine. It's just something that Design Space does. It's just been like this for a while. So it looks really fuzzy, it looks really bad, but don't worry, it will work just fine in Cricut. They also look like they're just lines, but once it's in Cricut, they're not. So you won't have to worry about that either. So we'll go ahead and click upload, and it's going to bring our image into our Design Space. Now, like I said, see, they are filled in, so you won't have to worry about them just being outlines. The first thing that we're going to do is I want to ungroup my design, because you can see here that it's a ton of different layers. And that's totally fine. That's really what we need for this design. But I want to ungroup it so that I can be sure to eliminate layers I don't need and change colors for the layers that we want. So I'm going to click these two squares up here, and that is ungroup. And the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this right here, because that circle is the wood round, and we don't need that. We already have our own wood round, so I'm going to delete it. Once I've done that, you can see I have all of these pieces down here to build our sign. Now, what's great about this is really, really simple. So you can see that you have lots of different pieces and parts. This right here is going to be green because this is our leaves. So I'm going to start with that, and I'm just going to create it and make it green. Now, it really doesn't matter what shade green I have here. I can cut it on any shade green I want to with my vinyl. The next thing that I'm going to do is, I see these strawberries, the ones that have the holes in them. Those are your outsides of your strawberries. So I'm going to select all three of those, and I'm going to make them bright red. Now, these underparts, these are actually what creates the look of the seed. Now, you can make these any color that you want to. They show them as like a light yellow, but I don't think, in my brain, when I think of strawberries, my seeds always look black to me. So I'm going to make them black because that's what I prefer. But you do you. If you want yellow seeds, if that's how you see a strawberry, then you make your seeds yellow. Do what you want to do. You can make them blue, green, whatever color you want. But I like them black, so I'm going to leave them black. Now, as we go, I'm going to kind of build the sign so that you can see the vision. So the first thing I'm going to do is grab this strawberry, and I'm going to get him in his place, which is right here. Then this little strawberry is going to go right here. Now they're not lined up perfectly right now, but when we put them together on our Cricut, like on the actual design, they'll be lined up. And then I'm going to grab this strawberry and put him here. Now you see we have these little kind of oblong shapes. Those are the underripe strawberries that are just growing. So I'm going to make those like a light pink. And that way those are going to look like they're just strawberries that are just coming out. And we have to change the colors on these so that the Cricut knows that we want to cut these on different colors. And now, like I said, it doesn't matter what color you make them here. It only matters what color vinyl you cut them on. These are the centers of these flowers, and I want to make these flowers white. So I'm going to select all of them and make them white. And then I'm just going to kind of put them over here, and they go pretty much wherever you want them to. They don't have to go in a specific spot. But one thing, I want to get rid of these little triangles that like make up the petals. So I'm going to go to contour and I'm just going to click hide all contours because I don't want to have to weed those out. They don't really serve any purpose for our design. So I'm going to do that to each of our flowers just so that we don't have to like fight with them. And again, you put your flowers wherever the heck you want to. It doesn't have to go exactly where they show them on the design that they made. And the last piece here are these little circles, which I'm going to make yellow. And those are the centers of our little flowers. Now, can you kind of see the vision of this coming together? I think it's super duper cute. I'm so excited that you guys are going to get to see this. Now, for this, I want to actually connect Hello and Summer because they're two separate layers. Do you see right here where they're two separate layers? I don't want to have to try to line them up like they are here, so I'm going to attach those layers. And that way, when I go to click Make, it'll hold everything together. Now you can hold together your strawberries if you want to and your flowers if you want to, but me personally, I don't necessarily care because I'd rather save the vinyl and line them up since I have this piece here. The next thing I'm going to do is select my entire design and I need to resize it for my wood round. So it's going to depend on the size of your wood round, what size you're going to do, but my wood round is a 10-inch. I'm going to make this a little bit under 10 inches because I don't want it to take over the whole thing because it can just be slightly off with the curve. So I'm going to go about 9.8. I'm just going to have a little bit of an edge and I'm okay with that. I think it'll actually look super duper cute. Now we're going to be cutting this with permanent vinyl, so we don't need to do any kind of mirroring or anything like that. All I want you guys to do is I want you to save your design and we're going to save it as strawberry round. This is just for me, so I know what it is, but you call it whatever you want. And I always recommend saving before you hit make, just in case something goes wrong. If something goes wrong, you have to redo all that work. And while it didn't take forever, I don't want to have to do it again. Then all I'm going to simply do is hit make, and it will have our different color vinyl. Now this is a great project for some of those scraps that you might have because you don't need a lot of white. Now black, you're going to need a little bit more because you have the extra strawberries, but I'm going to tell you a trick. Move that strawberry up here and save yourself a little bit of extra vinyl. Then we've got our little pink ones, which again, perfect for scraps. The red, also great for scraps. And then we've got our yellow. And last but not least is the green. So you're going to have 6 different colors that we're going to cut to create this. And then I'm going to show you how we prep our round, what we're going to do to it to make it extra special. And then we're going to go ahead and get the vinyl cut out. Now I'm going to use StarCraft HD, which is a permanent vinyl for this. And I'm going to cut this all on the vinyl setting. Before we cut any of our vinyl and stuff, I'm going to go ahead and do a coat of stain onto this little wood round. I'm just going to use this Minwax, and the color I'm using is classic gray, but you can use any color that you want. You can paint this, you could leave it plain. Do what you want to do with it. Now, I hate stain on my hands, so I do have one glove on. I don't tend to touch it with this hand. So I'm good with just one. And then I'm using a old shirt that I did for some tie-dye to use as the rag for this. And there is our stain. It's a little separated. I probably should have shaken it a little bit more, but it's fine. This is not like going to be the world's most perfect stained piece of wood, and I actually kind of like it when it looks a little less perfect. I think it looks a little more natural, but look how pretty that gray is. So to stain wood, you just put it kind of on a rag and you just wipe it. It's simple as that. Now it does help to wipe in the direction of the grain, and I don't put a lot on to my rag. I like to keep it a little more light. That way it doesn't get super wet. And you can just see how quick and easy this goes on. Now I do always have a silicone mat or some sort of protection over this so that it doesn't get on my table, because Lord knows we don't want that. But look at how pretty that gray is. That's going to be so pretty against the colors for the strawberries. It's going to be really cool. Now, if you want it darker, you can, of course, go in with more coats. But you can see how easily this went on. So again, if you want it a little darker, go in with like a heavier coat, go in with more coats, whatever you want to do. But I think I'm pretty happy with this color. I think this looks really, really nice. Now we are going to need to seal the wood and the stain. So we'll do that next, but we need to allow our stain to fully dry. Now I'm going to show you a quick little trick. So obviously I'm going to throw this rag out. I'm going to throw this glove out. Hold the rag in the palm like that. Open your glove. Ba-bam. In case you didn't know that, you can throw it all away in just one little scoop and you're not going to get any of the stain on your hands. Now make sure that you do close your stain after you're done using it, and we're going to let this dry. I usually let this dry overnight. That way I make sure it's really, really dry. I didn't put a whole lot on this. It's not really saturated, so it should only need like maybe an hour and a half or so. So we'll let this dry and then we're going to show you how to clear coat it, and then we'll cut out our vinyl and apply. We are ready to seal. Now I did say polyacrylic earlier, but I'm gonna actually use Maker's Magic Gloss, which is basically the same thing. You can seal with Mod Podge. There's lots of like clear sprays and stuff. I'll link down below a few sealants that I like to use. That lid was on there. But I'm just going to use this because it was like right at the top of the drawer, so I just figured this would be what I would use. And this works really well. But again, I'll link the ones that I like down below. So you don't need a real heavy coat. You can put a pretty light coat on, and I do again find that going with the wood grain is nice. But I just kind of shook it up and mixed it up, and then I'm going to go ahead and put a light coat on. And a light coat really should be all you need. You can do a couple coats if you want to. If this was going outside, I would recommend doing coats on both sides, and I would do several coats, but this is just going in my house, so I don't need to make it super protected, just enough that the vinyl can stick to our stain. So I think this is going to be a really cool looking project. So I'm going to go ahead and put one coat on first. I might do two just to be safe, but I'm going to put this coat on, and then while this coat's drying, we'll go ahead and cut out and weed our vinyl. We're still waiting for the sign itself to dry. We can do some layering on this. We can do the little strawberries, we can do the flowers. So we're gonna go ahead and start with that. Now I'm gonna start with the black pieces of my strawberry. And the way I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna just do this really with very little fanfare. But I'm gonna use a piece of parchment paper, and that's gonna help me line my strawberry up, like my little black piece, onto the green piece. Now, if you've never seen this before, what you do is, because your vinyl doesn't stick to parchment paper, you leave a little bit of your like transfer tape able to stick out, and that'll hold your design down so that you can get this in the right place. You can see your design from the other side of your parchment paper, and then you just sort of move this around until it's fully where you want it. Hold your piece of transfer tape down, and then take out the parchment paper, and you can put your strawberry piece right where you want it to go, and then you can just peel your transfer tape back. Now we'll do that for each of the parts of the strawberries because these are going to be like a bigger piece and they're going to require some lining up. Now, like you see here, I'm not using my squeegee or anything. My finger's fine for this because I don't want these to stick really, really well. And I actually do need to just double check. I think these two are the exact same size. I'm going to use my parchment paper just to kind of double check because sometimes, nope, they're the same. Okay. I just wanted to make sure that these were the exact same size before I picked a strawberry to put these on. So I'm going to go ahead and layer all these little pieces, as many as I can, while I'm working on this, while our design dries. I won't make you watch me do every single one, but you can just see that I leave some transfer tape sticking out the side here. And then I just sort of wiggle this around until it's lined up so that none of the green is showing. I press the transfer tape down, take the parchment paper out, and then I just lay the black down. So I'll go ahead and finish layering all of these pieces, and then I will hopefully have a dry sign to show you. So I let my wood just cure overnight just so that I made sure that was good and dry. Now we can put our design on to our wood round. So I'm first going to take this section and place this to the wood. I'm going to use medium tack transfer tape. And I just pull out enough that it'll cover the design of the strawberries. And we'll reuse this piece as long as it's reusable. Usually they are for the Hello Summer part. But I'm just going to go ahead and trim that off. And then I'm going to go ahead and burnish this from the back, which is what you want to do when you're working with vinyl. I do find it easier to peel the backing away from the vinyl. Now I'm going to go ahead and peel this back. And our vinyl design should stay on the transfer tape. If you've got little parts that want to come up, just press them back down a little bit with your backing and they should stay just fine. A little spot right there that didn't want to stay. Perfect. Now I am going to use our parchment paper hack to do this again, just so that I don't stick this directly to the wood right away. So you can see my parchment paper is a little staticky. That's okay. It doesn't stick to the transfer tape or the vinyl. I just want to get the bottoms of these strawberries on and just leave the top of this up. Now this does have a little bit of like a line on it from just the wood grain, which is totally fine, but I just want to kind of figure out how do I want that line to look. I don't necessarily want it this way. I think it's a little obvious. So I'm going to turn it so that that line from the wood grain is horizontal instead of vertical. Again, personal preference choice. Do what you want to do. Make it how you want. Now, I will be honest, I did trim off the little edges over here. I didn't like the way they looked, so I wanted to remove them from my design. And you can do that. If you don't like the little extra edge, just take it off. I just used a little X-Acto knife and cut it off. So I just got this lined up where I wanted it on my wood round. I'm just going to pull that parchment paper out from under. And then I'm just going to smooth this down. I like to start with just smoothing it with my hand first. And then I come in with my squeegee. And you want to give this a nice burnish. So you're just going to kind of go in a couple different directions. I always try to make sure that I pay close attention all the way around like the edge. You want to make sure any of these smaller spots where like the little half-grown strawberries are. And then you just kind of give it a good burnish. Now, I will say that when you are doing this, you do want to go a little bit slower. So I'm going to peel this back and I'm going to take this nice and slow because this is not always something that wants to stick perfectly to the wood, regardless of if you sealed it within an inch of its life. It just doesn't always want to stick right away, and that's okay. You just kind of got to work with it. And you can see what I like to do is I hold my hand, so I use my left hand and I hold it against the vinyl, and then I use the right hand to pull the transfer tape up. And then as I kind of move across the design, you can see I move my hand along so it's right on the edge of where the transfer tape is, because you can see it's kind of popping up a little bit over here, and that's okay, no biggie. We're gonna get this to stick. It's not a big deal, it happens, but you just want to go slow with it and make sure that everything is being held down. So like I said, I like to use my hand. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this all peeled off, and then we will add the Hello Summer next. And once I get all that down, I just kind of come through, just kind of press it down, make sure everything's well held down. I don't want to use my squeegee. I don't want to like scratch that or anything, but I can just use my hand and help hold it down. I'm going to use that same piece of transfer tape for the Hello Summer. I don't care if it's even on here or not. I'm just going to trim this down a bit. I just don't want a ton of extra transfer tape to deal with this, since this is wood and it doesn't always love to stick. So I do tend to trim this down quite a bit, just so I'm dealing with a little less tape. That's the other reason I don't mind reusing the tape. This is not the tool I need. I need a squeegee. So again, you're going to burnish from the back. I'm gonna go in a couple different directions just to make sure everything stays on your transfer tape. And then peel this back. And this is done the same way. You just line it up where you want it, and then you add it to your wood round. So again, you can use that parchment paper if you'd like to, but you can also just go for it if you know where you want it to sit. Now, I will say that I did mismeasure a little bit, but honestly, I kind of love that it sits over the strawberries. So I'm gonna leave it like that, where it's kind of over the strawberries a little bit, because I think that looks kind of cute. And I just don't know if I love where that is. I'm gonna not do the parchment paper on this. I'm gonna go ahead and just do it, because I kind of know where I want it to sit. I want it to sit right there. So this does go over your strawberries, and look how cute. Now, I'm gonna go ahead, get this burnished down really, really well, and get the transfer tape removed, and then I'll show you what this looks like all finished. If you want to hang this, you can add a little ribbon with some hot glue to the back. You can put this on like a little easel. There's lots of ways. You can add a ribbon, you can add a bow, you add what you want. I'm gonna see if I have any ribbon that'll match the look of this, and I might add it to the back. I did find a cute ribbon that I think will look good on this. So what I'll do is I'm going to put this on the back. Now, because it is a little hard when you flip it over to see where the center is, I usually will just take like a Sharpie or something and I'll mark that just so I can see it. So I hold it like this way, and then I kind of can see where the center is based on that, so that I don't kind of screw it up. It's never gonna be perfect when I do it this way. You totally could measure it, but like that just gives me like a general idea, and it's fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of measure out my ribbon. I don't want like a huge loop, and listen, don't ask me to tie a bow. I can't do it, I've tried. So if you're wanting to make it pretty and add bows, you go right on ahead. This girl can't do it. So I'm just gonna make it like just a ribbon that kind of goes around. I'm just using a bunch of hot glue. I like to like really put a lot of glue. And then I make sure that there's quite a bit of ribbon down here. And then I really press it into that glue. And then I'll use my scissors, and I just kind of, because the glue will come right off the scissors, but I kind of seal it in, which I know sounds a little insane, but it does work really well. And then I make sure that the color of the ribbon is out, so you can see that I'm putting this face down so that the like printed part of my ribbon is out, if that makes sense. So then again, I do a little globbity of hot glue. I'm going to turn this off because I don't need that anymore. And then I'm going to shorten this a little bit just because I don't want it to be too long. And then again, I just kind of do this. You could use like a silicone spatula or something if you want, but the hot glue comes right off the scissors. So not real concerned about that. I'm going to let this dry, and then I'll show you what this looks like.
Thank you so much for joining me for today's tutorial. I hope you picked up some tips and tricks to working with files that are made for your laser, but you can definitely use with your Cricut and vinyl. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments down below. I'm always happy to answer those for you. Be sure you're subscribed here. That way you don't miss out on any of the fun, crafty content we have coming. This was such a fun project, and just be sure to give yourself a little bit of grace anytime you are making something. Mistakes happen, and it's okay to embrace them. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and as always, happy crafting.